I was very skeptical at first. I was like, I could probably do this on my own, bought all the books, but the networking and the community has been huge. So I spent tens of thousands of dollars to educate myself, because the more educated you are, the better investor you'll be. Sure, I could do all this on my own. We could probably all figure this out on our own, but how long do you want to wait? Do you want to collapse that timeline, or do you want to, figure it out on your own and get there in 10, 20 years? I want to get there quickly, especially for the health professionals who are just coming out of school or training. And so it's very tempting to take that huge paycheck that you get when you first get it and run to the car dealership or run to your realtor. But if you could just hold on a couple of years and think about assets, liabilities, it will really change the trajectory, for the next 10 years or so.
So you started like I did, and I think a lot of people, the curiosity, we get books. And then of course, today we have the online access to podcasts and webinars, and there's forums and groups you can join online. And then there's also live groups, there's conferences, there's places, as you elevated, how important and how much time have you invested in those network relationships?
It is key. I was very skeptical at first. I was like, I could probably do this on my own, bought all the books, but the networking and the community has been huge. So I spent tens of thousands of dollars just on memberships, groups, community groups, education, to educate myself, because the more educated you are, the better investor you'll be, and informed about the decisions you're making. But the other part is just the people you surround yourself with. So the reason I've been able to accelerate is because I surround myself with these people who are also top level real estate investors and who have the same goals. Literally, I just got back from a trip to Florida to a real estate mastermind, and I was surrounded by a group of almost 50 to 70 people that are in this mastermind with me. And it just felt like home. So it makes you motivated more and share best practices and share your wins and struggles, and we lift each other up. So I think it's been huge to have a community and to have mentorship. So I have a number of coaches that coach me on different things, and that has really accelerated my path. Sure, I could do all this on my own. We could probably all figure that out on our own, but how long do you want to wait? Do you want to collapse that timeline, or do you want to, figure it out on your own and get there in 10, 20 years? I want to get there quickly. I want to move to the next level and the next level and the next level.
I tell people that have a lot of the same education that we have, a lot of education, and you've gone through residency programs, and we continue to add to our technical expertise. It's important. We have to stay up. Things change so fast, and it's a great thing in medicine and dentistry and other professional arenas. But I tell people we went to school, we went through college, and then we went into our graduate programs, and then beyond that. I said every time we made an investment in ourselves, we were investing in ourselves. And we finally get to that point where we think we've made it, right? We think we're at the top of the summit, the top of the heap, and we've got that final professional designation. And we passed the boards, we've got the license. It's like, I'm done. Now I just get to go out there and make money and finally start living the life that everybody told me I'd eventually have. And I tell people the problem with that is this: we're never done, and you should never consider not reinvesting in yourself. Again, we go to continuing education for our technical expertise. But what about in this area of finance? And you talked about wanting to help other physicians, particularly women, gain higher financial literacy. And again, so much of the time, the financial world tells us, or the media is, it's too complex, doctor. In this case, just talk, doctor. You do what you do. You don't have time. It's a complicated world out there. Just let us take it for you. And again, I'm not saying that comes with anything nefarious, but you and I figured out, and many others of our colleagues and peer group have realized that that's not true, that it is a reinvestment in ourselves for our future. And it's our future and what we want to do with that future, which we'll get to in a minute. But any thoughts along those lines?
Yeah, that really resonated with me, Dave, is especially as healthcare professionals, we have what is been termed arrival fallacy. I don't know if you ever heard of that term, Dave. Have you heard of that?
That's a good one. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah. And what that means is, like, for instance, in the medical field, even in the dental field, we think, oh my gosh, we're in college. We're this, 20-year-old, and we're just trying to get to medical school or dental school. If I could just get into dental or medical school, I'll make it. Then you get into dental or medical school or whatever professional school, and you're like, okay, I'm going to work really hard. If I could just make it to that residency, if I could just get into that residency program, it will be all set. Then you get into that residency and you're like, okay, I'm going to grind it out. I'm going to work these 36-hour shifts, overnight shifts. And if I could just be an attending, it'll be so wonderful. Then you get there and you're like, huh, is this it after all that? And so you're like, now what? Right. And I kind of went through that too. It was like, wow, I've achieved all this, went to the top schools, training programs, then what? Right. And I think we're either growing or we're dying. We never stay stationary. So, to think that you're set and you're stable, I think is false. And to think that you arrive whenever you achieve that next point, even in real estate, oh, if I get that property, you're never there. And it's continuing to grow yourself. And I think it's so important is why I've invested in personal development, because I think the extent to which you could grow your business or your practice or yourself as a doctor, as a real estate investor, is only to the extent that you yourself grow. So if you're not growing the rest of your life, whatever it is, being a mom, a doctor, you're not going to grow along with it if you don't grow. So I truly believe in the investment in yourself, whether it be through books, through mentorship, through podcasts, etc.
I know we talked a little bit, touched about the social impact of what you're doing and certainly providing profits, or you go on mission trips. And there's a lot of ways that it just feels so good to be able to give back in the ways that we can because of our expertise in how we serve our populace. The other thing we talked about in the past a few weeks ago, and I want to bring this back up, is we both know, and our listeners certainly understand what you said earlier about so much governance over our profession. Our autonomy has been really the doctor-patient relationship has just been mangled by so many outside interests, insurance companies and government, and just, the list goes on and on and on. And what you and I both came to a quick conclusion, we both realized that having multiple streams of income where we're not under the constraints of these agencies that want to direct our every move, that it gives us the freedom, the power of more autonomy to actually decide, I don't want to practice that way. I don't care to practice that way. Therefore, maybe I can shed some of the constraints that are on me right now. But you can't do that unless you've got some of that freedom. Otherwise, you feel like, well, it's my only form of income. I can't be responsible to my family and those obligations. Go into that a little bit, because that's something we both touched on and both realized how important that is with so many of our colleagues and peers that are feeling that burden of, I would love to do what I do if I didn't have to do it under these circumstances.
Yeah, no, it's the state of healthcare is just very messy in this country. We, as doctors and as health professionals, I mean, during these past years, we weren't just fighting COVID. We were fighting a healthcare system for years that didn't serve us. And we were kind of waiting as helpless victims, like a lot of us do, right, to someone to save us. But we realized that no one's coming to save us. And I think we both share the view, Dave, is that we got to save ourselves and we got to speak up for ourselves as health professionals. And I feel like the only way we're able to do that if we are financially empowered. Because if you think about it, if you're dependent on that paycheck every 2 weeks, or, to pay the mortgage, to pay for your kids' tuition, you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to get fired for speaking up. So no change is ever going to come from that. But imagine if a group of physicians, a group of dentists say, we're not taking that anymore. This is not how it's supposed to be. But because you're financially empowered and have that financial freedom, you could say, if you don't like what I'm saying, I could walk away at any time. When you don't have that financial stability and independence, you kind of shrivel up and just say, yes, 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 sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, to everything they say. But when you do that, you could say, no, I don't agree, respectfully. But I mean, that the healthcare system depends on us. Yes. Every other support, nurses, the front staff, if the doctors and the dentists are not there, or health professional is not there providing the frontline care, they don't exist. And I think that's what physicians, dentists, any healthcare professional needs to realize is you do have the power. They've made us to believe that we don't have the power. Sorry. And we're just, we're one trick pony, that we just need to see the patients, and you don't know the finances, you don't know anything else. So just sit down and do your job. But that's not true. And that's what I want to show physicians. Like, I mean, imagine if you were financially free, what would your life look like? Is it practicing like you would? Is it practicing 5 days a week? Is it 3 days a week? 1 day a week? No day a week, you know? So you have that choice once you have that financial freedom to kind of design the life that you want and how you want to practice. But unless you have that financial stability, I don't think you could do that.
Yeah, too much fear there
Yeah.
to take the chance. So I'd like to ask you about how you want your daughters to grow up. They're very young right now. Obviously, they look to their parents as role models, and certainly the conversations that they hear you having, even when they're very, very young, they're overhearing the way you talk and the way you carry yourself and some of the things you're doing. How do you want your daughters to grow up in a world today that, never going to say it's not as good as the old days, that kind of thing, because it's always changing, right? I think we can never say that, but it is always changing. It is always changing, and whatever we thought was the way the world would be at a certain age, we've seen how the dynamics have changed in so many ways. How do you want your daughters to see the world?
Yes, I think about this a lot, and I want my daughters to feel empowered and courageous, but also to see a world as a place of possibilities and a place of love and giving and compassion. And those are, skills that, or traits I want to instill in them, is no matter how small, you could help someone. So for instance, we hold a stack of gift cards in our car, and when we see someone on the highway, homeless person holding a sign, we'll just give them a gift card. So those are examples I want to show them. And then in terms of the financial piece, we're trying to start at an early age to start educating them in small ways, because for myself and my husband and probably many people, finances weren't talked about in the household. I came from a family of refugees, so we were just trying to make it by. And even all the way up until I graduated medical school and even residency, no financial education in the educational system, 20 plus years of school. So actually, I've quote gifted each of them a duplex that we own in Atlanta. So when we drive by it, they know it's their house. So my older daughter would be like, I want to go to my blue house. And then my younger daughter, who's 2.5, kind of knows, but she kind of doesn't, but it's theirs. It will be paid off by the time they go to college, and they could do what they want with it. So instead of having their money in a 529 plan, they have this home that they could refinance and use it to go to college, or they could keep it and use it to start a business if they want, or whatever they want to do with it. So those are skills I want to instill in them, is just very practical skills, life skills like finances and, just general things like that, but also the human skills of caring for people and showing that there's a huge world. And if we just show more compassion, empathy, joy, love, we could leave the place, the world a better place.
Your place. Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that they each have their investment asset, a duplex. That's so good, because I believe that if we could show the world and show the younger generations that are coming up, no matter what they want to do in life, whatever they choose, that's their path. And I certainly want every young person to choose that path based on what they have a passion for. If we would all learn how to only elevate our lifestyle, if we have the assets that will pay for that lifestyle, we wouldn't have problems. How can we get more people to see that? Because we want to get out of school, as you said earlier, and we just want to start, with better car and better house, and we've just, we paid the price all those years, and it's like, now it's my time to live. And it's like, if you could just say, instead, invest in assets that will produce income and growth, and only elevate your lifestyle on that, then you've got a choice, and you'll never deplete that golden goose. That asset, remains and will continue to produce, and has that inflation hedge to it that a lot of people don't know how to deal with that today. Another subject for another time, but there's so much going on. I think real estate, we've found how it provides so many benefits. You just have to take the time, educate yourself, as you said, learn about it, and build a team, a network. Just, don't go solo. Don't go solo. I mean, I don't care how old you are, even if you want to be really active doing it, which is great. But find the people, get the network, find the right people, because they'll help guide you on the path, so you don't take big missteps. We're always testing, always finding better ways, but not the big missteps that set people back so many ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think especially for the health professionals who are just coming out of school or training, it's very tempting to inflate your lifestyle right away, because literally you go from pretty much minimum wage to being in the top 1 or 2% of wage earners. in the country. And so it's very tempting to take that huge paycheck that you get when you first get it and run to the car dealership or run to your realtor and start buying those things that has so long been delayed, right? You sacrifice and all of a sudden, whoa, this huge paycheck and I'm going to get that big house, that big car. But if you could just hold on a couple of years and think about assets, liabilities, it will really change the trajectory, for the next 10 years or so.
Well, Dr. Nancy Nguyen, Clear Vision Investing, such a pleasure and such a privilege to have you on today. We'll definitely have to come back and do some more, and we may go into some of the technical aspects of where we are in the market and the economy and interest rates, inflation. I didn't want to do that today. I wanted just to bring out your story, which is awesome. I just appreciate you telling all of us what you looked at through your eyes and what steps you're taking about it. So good and so great to have you.
Thank you so much, Dave. It was a pleasure.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.